Hi guys, and welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well and you're having a really great day. So guys, good morning to you. I hope everybody is doing just fine. Thank you for those of you who have actually subscribed to the channel and yet again give me your undivided love. Now before we get any closer into this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, give me some love, and hit that notification bell. Now when you hit the bell, make sure it jingles, it needs to shake, so that way you will receive all of my notifications and another video has been uploaded. So today's tutorial is going to be two projects. So I've had these two cushion pillow forms that I needed to fill for ages now, and so I'm going to do a scrappy pillow casing, and then I'm also going to show you this really beautiful baby mat. So really short scrappy projects this week that you can get done over the weekend. So it's literally a weekend project. So let me take you now and show you what I have done so far, and then give you a little brief details about the step. So let's go get started. All right guys, so I have made a scrap sort of frame scraps here, and I don't really need to explain to you how to do a scrappy sort of square. I'm sure you know how to do it by now, okay, because I've shown you in my previous videos. I can link a video of to show how to make a little scrappy rectangle. Now all I am using basically is some old sheets for the backing, and some leftover spare fabric. So I have cut the width of this fabric, the length of this, all right, and I'm just going to simply cut it in half and sew it onto the sides of this scrappy rectangle here. Now what you need to do is to measure your cushion so that you know what size you are cutting and measuring to. So I have measured mine. So this is just a simple quick method to make a cover for your cushions. All right, so cut it open, and what we're going to do is sew it together like that. All right, and then obviously we will trim it to the size of the cushion, and I'll show you how to do the rest of it. Very simplistic. Okay, so I have stitched on both of the side borders, okay, onto the middle center panel, and I've added on a strip to the top. Remember to measure the size of your pillow form, so that way you know what you're working with. So I'm going to add on the other to the end. Now this does not equate to the size of the cushion, so I'm going to add on now another scrappy border right to the top there, okay, and do the same for the bottom, and that should be enough to actually get the size going. So that is what it was going to look like. Okay, so I'm going to do that now, and then I'll show you how to cut the back for the envelope method that we're going to use. Okay. All right, now that I have added on all of the bits to actually make that square for my cushion front cover, using my leftover bed sheets here, what I'm going to do is to just cut two pieces just slightly bigger than the actual front piece, right, but the same size, right to the square of this particular front top here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it. Just going to turn that over so you can see that there. I'm just going to cut that there, and then I'm going to make two hems on the edges only, one edge only. All right, so I'm just going to trim that there, and then all I'm going to do, sorry I just shook the camera, all I'm going to do is simply now make a hem like so, and iron it and stitch it along there. I'm going to do that twice. Okay, so I have made the back, both of them. So what I'm going to do now is to simply stitch it together to make an envelope, and I'll show you that briefly. So you need to put both sides front together. You want the hem end in the middle and the raw edge to the end here. So you want both raw edges together. So that's raw edges of the actual cushion cover. and the hem area in the middle, and you do the same for the other one. So the hem in the middle, again, front sides together and the raw edges together there. Now I am not going to sew it together in a square just as yet because I want to quilt this. So what I am going to do is on the wrong side here, add some batting. I'm going to quilt it first and then I will do my envelope method. All right, so let's move on now to the second project, and I know you're going to love this one. All right, so let's get started on that. Okay guys, so this is the project, the second project, and all I have done here is stitch together 2.5 inch squares. Now you're making a baby changing mat, a heart-shaped baby changing mat. So hopefully you can actually figure out that's what's happening at the moment. So don't worry, I will definitely leave all the sizes etc. down in the bottom description box down below, but I have here a number of 2.5 inch squares and I've stitched them together in rows so that you can see that's literally what I've done, and I've stitched them together, okay, just to make this shape. Now with this is the background fabric, and that is going to be extended on each of the ends here. You definitely can't see it because obviously, you know, the table ends there, but all of the background fabric will be at the end of each of the cuts here. All right, so and then you would have a border piece literally to go all around it. But that is what it looks like for the layout. I've only laid these things on top of it. It's a bit windy outside at the moment so that they don't blow away, but it's a heart-shaped baby changing mat, and we'll get started on that. Alright guys, so all of the grey fabric has been sewn together on the edge of the last 2.5 inch squares. Alright, and it's beginning to take shape to look like a heart. Now what I would point out is when you do yours, these 3 rows here, they are already sewn together. You need these 3 rows sewn together so you can add on this particular piece of your background fabric. Once I've stitched all of the rows together, what I will do is then add another piece of the background color to border it so that it's lovely and square, and then I may add another thin border again just to frame the whole thing up. But it's coming together very nicely. It's a quick, simplistic, very much a scrappy project. So if you've got 2.5 inch squares, or if you've got a jelly roll fabric that you know, probably 3 or 4 that's hanging around, you can do it with that amount of spare jelly rolls. But it's a quick project, doesn't take long. It's a baby changing mat and it's come together really nicely. I'm hoping it looks like a heart. Now what I would say is initially I was going to use a white fabric and I felt that didn't contrast very well, so stick to dark colors so that it really contrasts all of the colors from the 2.5s. okay, I'm also going to put a very playful backing onto, when I say playful, very childlike, because it's a child's changing mat that I'm actually doing. So that's where it's at the moment. So I'm going to sew all of these rows together now. Once I've sewn all the rows together, I'm going to trim up, make sure it's nice and square, and then add on another of the grey, 2.5 of the grey all around. I will add on a bigger piece here, so probably about 4 or 5 inches in width at the bottom and at the top up there, okay. But then after that, as I said, adding on another smaller piece, but coming together really nicely. So keep you posted. And what you can do is to just make sure that you don't have squares together like that. So I'm going to have to twist this around. Also, if you use directional fabric, make sure it's the right side up. So I can see this one is wrong side up, so I'm going to have to turn this around just to make sure that I stitch it together correctly, okay, and that solved that problem. So yeah, so just little things like that, just double check that everything is correct. But at the same time, it's a child's changing mat, so I don't think the baby will be complaining. All right guys, so I'm going to sew it together with all of the extra bits that I've need to add on, and then get it quilted, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so I've completed making the cushions now. You can see exactly what they look like. Now for the quilting, I just use a blue contrasting thread all over a paisley pattern. I made 2, did the exact same thing on this particular one. You can see all of my scraps here together, and it didn't take long to come together. And I know I often say that, but it really didn't. So you saw how easy it was, really. So you can use up your scraps. So these are my window frames, my scrappy window frames. On the back, I made the envelope method here, and you just simply put it in, squash it together. Okay, literally these are some bed sheets that I had that I cut up to use on several of the actual quilts themselves. So that is what they look like. Very pleased with the outcome. They are literally going to sit on the chairs outside, like so. That's where they're going to spend the rest of their lives. Okay, so let's move on now to the hard quilt top. Now this has come together beautifully. Absolutely love it. The background fabric has worked together very nicely. You can see that prominent heart in the middle there. I'll just lift it up so that you can see it quite clearly. Now it's very important that you use a dark contrasting fabric at the back, only because it can stand out quite easily. Now, as I said before, I did try white and it didn't work, and I don't think white is going to work as the immediate background. However, I did add a white border on the end there, and what I did that was different this time round, I actually added some piping there around the border, and I still added on my binding at the bottom. So I think it came together really lovely. It does stand out. It's a beautiful mat, baby mat. It's a baby changing mat, basically, is what I've compiled here today. Now I did do some grid for the actual quilting themselves, so I used the same size. So the finished size here is 2 inches, because obviously we started with 2.5. So I just continued. So I did some markings along there. So I used my chalk and just continued measuring that, whatever size they were. Okay, is what I did. Now the reason why I say whatever size, because if you look at, so this is my immediate first border here. Okay, so when I finished the quilt top, this is what the size I ended up with, and I obviously added on another one at the end there. Now the quilting, I actually did very simplistic quilting, and I did this design in all of the color in the corners. Sorry, I'm gonna hold that up there so you can actually see it. Hopefully you can make it out, because I'm outside at the moment. Obviously you can tell that by now. So yeah, I did that for the quilting, and I loved it. I love the actual pattern it leaves on it. Now what I would say is that I'm still unsure about how I feel about using a cotton batting. I always like the loft when it comes to using a polyester batting, because I think it gives a really different feel and texture to the quilt itself. But saying that, it does look pretty, but again, it's all about personal preference. I mean, I have always used polyester batting for my quilts, and I do like the feel of it, just like the loft of it, and I think it gives more of an impression with the quilting. But I did actually buy a whole very big roll of fabric for the quilts to quilt, and it's cotton batting. So nevertheless, but this is what the back looks like. So the back is very playful. It is of cars and trucks and very colorful for a child. If you go closely, you can see the impressions of the quilting, and what I have done is just use white cotton thread. Now in the middle of the actual quilt itself, where all the 2.5 inches, I'm making a terrible layout of this. What I have done is just sort of loop quilting there, and hopefully you can make that out. Okay, so that is how that came together. But overall, very pleased with the outcome. I am just loving the heart. Now if you wanted to make this as a quilt, a large quilt for a bed, obviously you'll have to increase the size of your squares here, because I'm telling you, you're going to be there for a long time. You could use the same pattern and make 4, and it will make you a very large quilt. So you'll have 4 hearts in the corner, or you can go 6. It's entirely down to you, but I think 4 of this size would be a nice throw size quilt. I don't know, let me know what you think about the idea of using the cording here, the piping here. I did like that. I was looking for an accent color that will stand out, but I felt the grey worked in this instance. I was actually going to put a really bright color there, a color that I can actually pick up from all of these prints here, but I didn't really have anything, so I decided was to go with the actual grey itself and then finish with a really pretty binding there, which I think comes together really nicely. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So it's a baby's changing mat. You can add more quilting to it, which will allow it to be a lot more stiffer and more rigid, but at the same time you can use it for whatever you want, guys, and entirely down to you. But this is the purpose of it, hence the reason I have used a lot of childlike images or fabric on there, as well as the same, so you can use it front to back for the purpose of which it's intended. Nevertheless, it's beautiful. I love it. It does stand out as a heart. Very, very lovely. Beautiful, beautiful. Didn't take long to compile. I would say if you already have 2.5-inch squares, you will obviously finish it a lot more quickly than you would for any other quilt. But as I was saying, if you wanted to use 10-inch squares, you can, 5-inch squares, 8-inch squares. You will just need the same number of squares. It doesn't really change the outcome as to whatever size you use. Okay, but yeah, guys, so do let me know what you think about this quilt top, especially using the piping on the end. And I think it gives another texture for children to play with, and hence the reason why I use this quilting pattern here. It's just all about textures to give children something to feel and touch while they are actually having their nappy changed, or to play on. It's a lot of colors that capture their imagination. So do let me know what you think about it, guys, as well as my pillows. Do love them. They're nice and firm, and again, using up all of my spare scraps and just throwing something together. Now, as I said, I had these cushions since we actually moved into the caravan, and they've just been there, to be honest. I thought, let me use them up now and get rid of them. So that's what they look like completed. So again, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, give me a thumbs up, and leave some feedback. What do you think of this quilt and the scrappy framed cushions? I look forward to hearing from you as usual. Love you guys so much, and once again, thank you for all of you who have subscribed to the channel. It's nice to see you taking part and leaving comments. Remember, I do this because I love it and I enjoy hearing back from you. So do leave a comment. Bye for now, guys, and of course, happy quilting.